permit pursuant to this ordinance is the only zoning permit required for a wind energy facility, and the conditional use permit and variance provisions of section 8.2 and 8.3 do not apply.
So that's where we want to have discussion on what Levi's saying. So he proposed a change later on page 13 to list specifically under agricultural conditional use permits a wind energy conversion facility. So the language in here and the language that he proposed on page 13 conflict with each other, so you can't have both approved. You have to decide whether the intent, as Molly was saying, it looks like the intent of our zoning ordinances when they were created was to have wind energy facilities be a standalone provision and not require a conditional use permit. But there's just some ambiguities in there that make us question that right now. So we have to decide whether we want it to be just under a siting permit or whether we want them to also get a conditional use permit on top of it.
And if I may, so on December 26th, that was an amendment that Flicker Tail proposed. And I mean, it was just one of those things that it never made it to us, so I made the motion on my own. I didn't have their language in front of me, but I made that motion at our December 29th meeting to add it as a conditionally permitted use. And I think they sent out that proposed amendment to the county and also to the township. So, I mean, I see value, like I said, there's going to be people that disagree with me. I see value with it as a conditionally permitted use because under the conditional permitted uses, there's some protections in there that I think we're going to be giving up.
Do you think the difference from the siting permit side of it?
Well, so if I go in here, so it says anytime, I'm always leery when somebody says, well, I want to add something. But then it's always, what makes me question it more is when they want to get away with it. They don't want to do away with something that it does not apply. So if I go into 8.2.6, and what they had said earlier is, if it's 8.2 if the 8.2 doesn't apply, 8.2.1 doesn't apply, like everything after that. So if I'm in under 8.2.6, it says standards. No application for conditional use shall be recommended for approval unless the zoning commission finds that all of the following conditions are present. That the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. 8.2.6.2, that the uses, values, and enjoyment of other property in the neighborhood for purposes already permitted shall be in no foreseeable manner substantially impaired or diminished by the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use. 8.2.6.3, that the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted within the district. And then there's some other 8.2.6.4 that adequate utilities, access roads, drainages, and other necessary site improvements have been or are being provided. 8.2.6.5 that the adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so that designed as minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. And I mean, there's one more. 8.2.6.6 that the conditional use shall substantially conform to all applicable regulations of the district in which it is located. So I mean, we have regulations in the agricultural district already. And if we're saying that, or other districts, and if we're saying these things can be put in these districts, why do we preempt them from the regulations or what everybody else has to go by type of deal? I really think
I have a suggestion that I think might address your concern. So what if we change it? Because the intent isn't, we're not concerned about those provisions, but if we try to put it under the conditional use, we have to then deal with all of the like 10.1.3 and everything. What if we said, added to the end of that, it doesn't apply to sections, provisions of sections 8.2 and 8.3 do not apply except for the standards in 8.2.6.1 through 8.2.6.6, and then the same standards in the variance section. So basically we're applying the standards no matter what. Would that address your concern?
I think it would.
Okay.
I mean, And
Okay.
I just, there's some protections in there.
Agreed.
And so, if somebody, there's two sides to this property rights debate point. And I firmly believe that the use and enjoyment of my personal private property can't affect the use and enjoyment and the value of somebody else's personal private property. I mean, there's this balance there. And I think some people will read that 8.2 is out, and they'll read those things, and they'll be like, I'm getting stripped of some of my property rights.
You're adding it basically in conditional use and special.
Well, I'm open to what Molly just said.
Except for the standards, so the standards will apply.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she worded it much better than I'm gonna repeat, so.
I'll give you the language, I'm just trying to make sure I get the correct provision.
Okay, Ashley.
Yeah, yeah. So it sets the standards in 8.2, 26.1 through 0.6, and then we need the ones under
It's
8.4.
8.3.5.1 through.
That's perfect, so I got that written down.
Okay.
So that was all sort of that same.
Yeah, we still have the motion and a second.
Well, there's one more for wind on the next one that I just
Yeah.
addressed, as long as we're on the same. Page 8, let's finish up page 9.
It's 10.1.3.
Point 1, yeah.
No work except for wind monitoring, soil testing, and other survey work may commence to construct a wind energy facility until a county wind energy facility siting permit has been issued by the county commission. The respective committee shall submit an application for said permit to the county zoning commission. The application shall be signed by an authorized representative of the permittee, including, and then we're going over here. A fee of $1,000 plus $250 for each proposed wind turbine, up to a total amount of no more than $10,000. Now, should I read this? You want to strike this next part?
I want to strike the next language. There was a proposal that additionally the application would pay the county's reasonable documented costs of processing the permit, including limited, but not limited to attorney's fees, notice publication fees, and notice mailing fees. And I think if we're already requiring $10,000, my suggestion would be not to include that. So there's going to be no attorney's fees because I'm the attorney for the county, so we won't have that. The publication fee is usually $10 to $15, so to then nickel and dime someone who's already filled out this application to say, okay, now $15 for that. And then, the cost of processing the application, we haven't included that as a fee anywhere else, that we're requiring someone to pay the cost of that. So it just didn't make sense to all of a sudden include that here. So they proposed that language, and I proposed striking it so that we just are left with, ending with this no more than $10,000.
Okay. I think we're good on these two.
I need to.
We have a motion.
We don't have.
So, yeah, we still do it.
We
There
have
was no
no
action.
We're still discussion?
Don't you think there was no call for a vote, so I would say there's still.
But the motion was only on page 1, and now we're doing it.
So should we amend it?
Yeah, amend it.
Page 8.
Page 8, sorry.
The big motion, Sean first, and Stu seconded page 8.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Sean will amend.
I will amend my initial, motion, which had already covered those items on page 8, to include, 10.1.3, and the state's attorney's, recommendation that, and the collaboration, that 10.1.3 includes various provisions of section 8.2 and 8.3 do not apply, except for standards in
8.2, 0.6.1 through 0.6, and 8.3, 0.5.1 through 0.4.
And then I will also move to approve 10.1.3, with Ashley's recommendation of RP.
Yeah, and I'll amend my second. Okay, any more discussion on it?
Can I, what Molly gave you, can I see what it says, or not?
Oh, I wrote it down.
Oh, you wrote it down? I just want to read it.
Okay, any more discussion? Any more discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Looks like we need a 10-minute recess.
I'll see you later. Yes, I'll see you
Oh, how are you?
Here you go.
Thank you very much.
Are you,